let's get straight into it. And we're going to start with it because move over Shaka Hislop and his power rankings. It's all about Janusz's power rankings today.
What's
Janusz.
this?
Shaka's is still my boy, but it's about Janusz. I'm giving you the floor. So give us your power rankings. Let's start off though at number 5. I believe you have a team that's very dear to my heart. That's a cover very well, and that's Barcelona.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to wait and see a little bit on Barcelona, right? I mean, I think we've seen some young players coming through. There's been some question about Xavi and Barcelona in general. I think they're doing well in La Liga as well. This group is going to be a breeze, so they're up there, but I think they're still very much untested. Just the fact that they're back in the Champions League is good, but I think we can honestly say that this is still not Barcelona of your dreams, I guess, since it's very close to your heart. So yeah, I mean, it's a team that could, because of history, because of the quality, but maybe because of the inexperience and pretty big rebuild of that club. So 5 is just about right.
I think your doggy disagrees with you. She might be a Barca fan. What do you think they're probably missing, or in what departments are they just missing? Because in La Liga, of course, I mean, that we cover so much on ESPN. We have seen Real Madrid have issues. We have seen Barca have issues. We have seen Atletico de Madrid have issues. But to compete in Europe, which we know is the step up that Xavi wants right now, what do you think they're just missing?
Well, I think they need a little bit of leadership, something that they had in abundance in the past, right? I mean, as I've mentioned, a lot of young guys. That midfield's still very, very fluid. And although we see, maybe, better things from Frankie de Jong, I'm a big fan of his. I think it's taken him a long time to really establish himself as the true leader. And, in that midfield, I just don't see that yet. I see potential, but, to kind of be at the top and beat the top teams, I don't see a Busquets or Xavi or Iniesta. And, these days are long gone, but I think we can honestly say that in the center of that pitch, there isn't one personality that you can say, wow, this is the player, and it takes more. Leadership takes more than one player. So that's just part of that. I need to see them playing against the top level towards the business end of the season.
Yeah, they're definitely still a squad that is rebuilding under Xavi. Indeed, a lot of youth, a lot of talented youth. But like you said, I mean, it's going to be hard to get anybody to fill in the void that Sergio Busquets left. Let's go to number 4 in your power rankings now. And you have, I could say, maybe a team close to your heart, because you, of course, cover Bundesliga a lot more than I do. You have Bayern Munich in the number 4.
Yeah, I mean, Bayern Munich is there all the time, except for the few times when they're trying to kind of, what happens, and they need to quickly rebuild, which they're doing and they've done. I look at that team, I look at that squad, and everybody's scratching their heads, probably saying, why are they playing so badly? There are questions about when Jurgen Nagelsmann has left, now with Thomas Tuchel. I don't like the way this team is playing, and yet on paper, unlike Barcelona, they have so much experience, so many good players, and in my opinion, they should be playing much, much better. But for as long as we're here, I think we're always going to be saying that Bayern Munich is one of the leaders, because things change very, very quickly. They react very, very quickly. And I don't even want to go to the years back when, remember when Borussia Dortmund won back-to-back Bundesligas, and they all of a sudden changed things quickly, or if managers don't perform, it used to be Jupp Heynckes coming in, and somehow they did it. Well, last time they had to kind of rebuild wasn't all that long ago, just a couple of years ago, when Hansi Flick came in when they were 9th in the Bundesliga, and all of a sudden that year, remember, Hansi Flick comes in, they win the Bundesliga, and they win the Champions League as well. It seems to me that I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see where Bayern Munich go. And are they going to stay with Thomas Tuchel, or are they going to feel this is not happening? And the reason for that is that on paper, this team is more than good enough to be playing much, much better and much more convincing than we've seen in the Bundesliga already. And in that game against Copenhagen, which was, lucky in the sense that they were losing, and it didn't look like they were going to be coming back the way they did.
Yeah, exactly. Questions remain around Bayern now. Into your top 3, that's where you have Inter.
Look, I got a little bit lucky, but last year I had them going to the final, right after group stages, and people were calling me crazy. And I actually called myself crazy because it was stab at the dark. And the reason I took that stab, and I'm taking it now, and I'll tell you this: I wouldn't be surprised if we see Inter in the final once again this year.
Oh.
Is because for a number of reasons. Look, it's the same team for the most part. Brozovic is not there, but obviously they've gotten players, and Romelu Lukaku's out, but we saw Marcus Thuram, how good he can be in Serie A and already in the Champions League as well. Lautaro, my goodness, I think he, yesterday he could have had 6-7 goals. Probably didn't go to church on Sunday. That's the only explanation. That's the only explanation I really have. I mean, it was some great goalkeeping, but at the crossbar post, I mean, had so many close calls, and he's probably going to look back at this game as one that he could have set some records, because I don't think it's going to happen to him again. And sometimes it does happen that way. He's a wonderful striker. It's a steady team. Another reason I think they may get there to the final, or at least top three, is they're a tournament team. That's a perfect tournament team, and they don't care how they get there. And that's important, because when you look at Barcelona, when you look at Real Madrid, when you look at Liverpool, when you look at some of the big teams, there's always, well, they're not playing well, they're not entertaining, or they're not doing this, that, or the other. You'll never hear that from the Serie A teams for the most part. Certainly you will not hear that from Inter. And, this is the Inter of old with Jose Mourinho, and they're winning the Champions League. And this is also the team of Simeone, last season and this year. They'll grind if they have to. For as long as they have those two-legged matches, they'll find a way. And I do think that they're very much capable of getting back to the final, and certainly are in my top three.
All right, well, we just saw there your top two, Real Madrid in number 2, and then Manchester City rounding things off. I'm not sure many people will give you much argument there, Janusz.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Look, Vinny's back, and we saw it already, how much difference he makes. You have Jude Bellingham that's just doing things that nobody expected him to do, right? I mean, he's so young in the Bundesliga. Obviously, with Borussia Dortmund, we've seen how talented he is. But to get to a club like Real Madrid, arguably the biggest and the best in the world, we often talk about how heavy that shirt may be, the responsibility that carries with itself. What he's doing is quite incredible. And yesterday, that goal alone, because up until now, if you wanted to somehow have a go at him, you'd say, well, look at the tap-ins, right? You still have to smell it. You still have to know how to get there. And not all of them went from yard out. But, I mean, scoring a lot of goals, scoring winners. And yesterday, he showed wonderful ability to just take the responsibility on his shoulders, get in between 3 or 4 Napoli defenders and still finish that as well. Vinny is Vinny. I mean, right away, it's a different team with him. I think they just have to sort out some of the things. Kepa yesterday had a moment. I mean, he's been good, but if somehow Thibaut Courtois comes back, you look at Militao, I think they're still in the process of shaping and rebuilding that midfield, which will happen, but there's a good mix in there as well. I don't see how Real Madrid is not one of the favorites to win it, especially with their wonderful history, because they own that competition.
And Man City, of course, still your favorites.
They are, because I still think they're the best team in the world. They're the defending champions. That monkey's off their back, which is maybe the most important things of it all, right? They no longer have to prove that they're capable. We always knew they could, but there's always something. This is how this competition is. It's not like the league where you have 30, whatever it is, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches to prove that you're the best. Here's sometimes one bad night, and you may be out of the competition as well. But again, I think this is a very decent group that they're in, which they're most likely aren't going to have a problem getting out of. And I think when the competition really starts, and that will be in February, by then they probably will have players like Bernardo Silva, players like Kevin De Bruyne, and maybe other players that are available now, but maybe off form a little bit. So they'll navigate through the Premier League. They're already doing that to a degree, even though they've lost. They've lost it. True, I can't even remember now. It's so many leagues. But anyway, they'll be fine as we know it. They get better as the season goes along, and they're, until somebody knocks them off the perch, I think they overall, they're deepest and most talented team in the competition, and have the best manager.
Yeah, fair play. Well, I suppose they're probably breathing a sigh of relief that they don't have to come up against Wolves in the Champions League, because that's
Right,
a
that's
team
the
that
one.
knock them off their perch.